What if your money story isn't actually yours? What if the very thing standing between you and the life that you ache for, the freedom, the purpose, and the abundance, is an invisible pattern you didn't even know you inherited? In this episode, I sit down with Melissa Johnston, a powerful intuition and abundance coach who helps spiritual creatives, CEOs, and purpose-led leaders break through the subconscious blocks that keep them stuck and activate the version of themselves who's finally ready to thrive. Melissa shares how her own rock bottom, leaving a high-paying law career, navigating single motherhood, and rewriting her story from the ground up, became the soil for the profound framework she now uses to help others quantum leap into their destiny. We talk about soul contracts, money ceilings, the Akashic records, and what it actually takes to hold the next level of your mission. This is more than mindset work. It's a soul reclamation. Stay with me. This one is great. Melissa Johnston, welcome to the Orykl Podcast. You are one of Orykl's vetted practitioners, and you describe yourself as an intuition and abundance coach. You help people get clarity on their soul's purpose and their mission, and you help them get to that ideal lifestyle and ideal version of themselves in a pretty short space of time. So, for those who don't know you well, how would you describe yourself as it relates to your mission on Earth?
Hi, so great to be here. Thank you for having me. My specialty is helping people to clear the often subconscious, right, or energetic blocks that stand between them and them propelling into their purpose either full time or on a bigger scale, right? A lot of the times we see these very talented practitioners, spiritual creatives, people who are here with a lot of change, right, to bring to the world and the world needs, but they sometimes struggle with the worthiness or the abundance. And the simplest way to explain my work is I help reconnect people to their destined purpose, right, their highest potential in this lifetime, and to clear all the blocks between them and their dream life or between them and their next level of income, so that they can get paid doing what they love and so that they can also help more people and create the ripple effect that truly matters to them.
Amazing. And what has brought you to have this mission on Earth?
The short answer is I struggled with it myself. Once upon a time, I left a high-paying corporate offshore law firm job. And in this moment of going all in on spirituality, this purpose, figuring out my authentic, wants and needs, and really like redefining myself after a marriage ended and my whole life basically just got reinvented, I realized that when I could no longer rely on a paycheck, right, or something that's predictable, I actually had to be my own source of abundance. That, oh my God, I had money stories, I had money resentments, I had these fears of putting my offers out there. And it blocked, the impact and the purpose that I wanted to have, but it also really affected my family because I didn't want to be that struggling, single mom at the time, right, who was struggling to pay for dinner. It was a huge contrast to a pretty well-paying job that I had just prior. So I made it my mission to really clear that up and to figure out like whatever it takes to do this thing properly. And that's where my niche really got focused on the abundance blocks, the subconscious rewiring, or who we need to become to hold our mission and to be really fulfilled in our purpose, but also to make a great living because, the reality is money's not really here to go. We do have a 3D playground, and the more we can be resourced, the more money can start coming into the hands of people who are using it for good.
So do you focus on spiritual practitioners, or do you deal with any kind of leader?
Yes, absolutely. So I work with two types of people. One is somebody who is either an executive, right, a high performer, also CEOs. They are stuck in an unfulfilled role. They're getting the awareness, somebody who's spiritually awake, pretty conscious, right, devoted to living their best life. And they're getting the awareness that their job's either no longer lighting them up and fulfilling them, but they're also feeling like there's a lot of pressure to maintain, right, a certain level of income. And they don't want to just leave it all behind because they have a family, a mortgage, like people that count on them. So rather than feeling like they need to go on this year-long sabbatical or to, restart by leaving it all behind, I actually help them to create parallel income transition plans. So to replace their income, but actually in their destined purpose. The other type of folks that I work with are spiritual folks, right? Practitioners, business owners who are ready to add an extra zero to their income, right? So they're on sort of a successful trajectory. They're doing pretty good for themselves. But they're almost hitting like an invisible glass ceiling or plateau. that no amount of hard work or strategy can seem to get them past. And usually that's actually an upper limit that's very much in the subconscious mind, rather than needing to do more or work harder or take on, more hours.
Absolutely. And you said a little bit that you're in this mission because of your own journey. Can you tell me a little bit about those hardships, the things that you had to overcome to get to the understanding that you have now?
Mm-hmm. So I work in the Akashic Records. This is our soul's book of records of all past, present, future timelines, right? It contains stories that we've been cycling through, like karmic cycles, patterns, younger child wounding, but it also contains like future timelines. And what I noticed was that I had an interesting loop of always building other people's businesses, always being sort of a leader on their team, but never actually pursuing my mission. So I was always like a helping hand in someone else's, and that was sort of like my safety net or my backup plan, when really in this life what was being called of is for me to actually lead my own movement and to like help other people level up as well. So that was huge. I was always working with successful people, right? Had great opportunities, but it was always their dream and not my own. So that was one of the huge ones. The other things were the subconscious money flows, where I would make a good amount, right? And then something would come up to eat it up or take it out. There would be an unexpected bill, expense, my car would break. And I was like, why is this always happening? The more I jump in and I get a bonus, right, or I have a really good month, it's like stuff breaks. And I got really curious around what was behind that. And what I realized was there was a lot of family stories of, you can only have, it's not fair to have more than you need, right? Or feast and famine, or even just these upper limits that it's not actually safe to receive beyond a certain level, which also impacted my business and how much I could help others.
And how do you help people get rid of that, change that belief, or unblock the pattern, I guess?
Yeah, so I've formulated my own framework. This is the Trinity of Transformation. So it's a 3-phase place, and we start with the release phase. So this is releasing all the soul fatigue, all the disconnection, all the times you lied to yourself, played small, all the times you had like backup plans or jobs that didn't light you up. It wasn't good for you, right? But you choose to do it because it provided some sort of security or the illusion of safety. And the more we create space by releasing everything that's not even ours, all the times we've like tried to put ourselves in a box or to be like other people or to pursue what other people's, trajectories of success are, especially if you grew up with families where you were supposed to be a doctor or a lawyer or to kind of replicate the way it's been custom. We need to first make up space to help realign people to even have capacity to remember their own calling and their own destiny. And once we've actually cleared all the gunk and the karma and the glass ceilings and upper limits and those core wounds, then we actually have space to like download and remember our highest potential or our destiny. So that's the thing that if you did it, you would leave your legacy on earth. It's the biggest impact you could have. Even if you're not meant to have like a huge impact, it's something very meaningful to your soul and it's deeply fulfilling. And then what we do is we work with the subconscious to reverse engineer how to get there, using timeline reading. So tapping into the fastest or easiest way to launch your offer, to get it in front of more people, to hit your next level of income. And in my practice, working with a lot of, very successful, anywhere from like 6, 7, and 8-figure business owners and leaders, I've actually mapped all of the very predictable subconscious blocks, the family line programs, the distortions and the wounds at every single income threshold, so that no matter what you're making now, we can jump you to your next income level by knowing exactly what needs to be cleared, which you'd actually be surprised is it's pretty common. Like people think their money story is very unique, and it's most of the time it's not actually that unique at all. There's a predictable map.
Incredible. No, fascinating. I've seen it myself. It's easier to see on other people than your own, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we can get blinded in our own stuff because it can trigger us, or it's not, safe to look. And if we're not neutral, it's hard to have that discernment.
Is there something that people could do today, tomorrow, or, this week or this month to start that process? Is there a belief that, on our own, we could start working on, or a specific thing that we can start doing so that we can head in that direction?
So I would focus first on getting clear on what you want. So what is your next goal, right? It's like trying to jump on a sailboat and saying, okay, I'm going to go this direction. But if we leave it up to chance, the wind might come and take us off course. Like we actually need to know what we want, right? So number one, getting clear on our goal. And you can do this for like 2026. Will be like your best year ever, your most exciting year.
Sometimes people say that we have to be super specific on the goal and, feel it, smell it, see it. And other people say that we should have a feeling of what that feels like, but not be so specific on, the more physical aspects of that goal. What do you think?
So what if there was multiple methods, because it's actually about what feels right and true and easy for you rather than trying to like get it correct? In human design, it shows that there's two types of folks. Some people require specific, like custom order to the universe manifesting. I want it in red on this stage. I'm going to be wearing this. Other people just need to trust and tap into the vibration and allow themselves to be surprised. But the way people go wrong is trying to like get it just right, or trying to replicate the coach or the mentor or the guru's way, and almost stressing themselves out if they don't get it perfect, which creates a lot of resistance rather than actually just following what feels natural and easy for you.
Right. Okay. Perfect. And then?
So once we know where we're going, or like a general direction, right? So even if that is more open-ended, so I want to feel like no matter what, I'm so resourced and sustained, like no matter what my outflows are, right, for money and stuff, that I'm always bringing in just as much, if not more, right? So something like that could be more general. I prefer specific income goals because it allows us to deconstruct what beliefs are in the way. But what you want to say is, if you could have it your way, if you were 100% sure that no matter what you wanted was good, no one would be hurt, no one would judge you, be mad at you, what would you actually want, right? So getting clear on that. And then actually getting clear and allowing yourself permission to write out all the beliefs that tell you can't have it. Because it's like these cobwebs or the skeleton in our closet. If we pretend that it doesn't exist, we look the other way, we're trying to think positive, all this gunk is still directly in the way. But giving ourselves 20 minutes to just filter it out and say, wow, okay, I don't believe because it's too much, it's can't happen, it's unrealistic, never been done before. Then we can start to use what we call the clearing statement, which actually reprograms your subconscious beliefs to clear out all of the supporting evidence for every single time that story or that limitation was true for you.
Right.
And
super
as
interesting.
we clear out the gunk, we start to become a match for the thing, because we're no longer like being blocked by this invisible force, right? Or that kick me sign from the universe where things just seem to like not work out.
That's so interesting. So where do people falter? Where do they go wrong? I mean, as in like how, the ones that fall off the wagon or they go back to their own ways. What is it that happens?
I think that sometimes when you have a big dream, right? And especially if you're like a cycle breaker or somebody in your family line meant to do it first for the first time ever, there's not a lot of evidence that it's like safe, right? Or possible. And when things go wrong, or when you don't hit your goal right away, people can get discouraged. It's for sure a natural thing. But if you have a lot of stories from your family saying you need the 9 to 5 to save for retirement, to do the adult thing, you may default to, I guess I'm just not meant for this, right? Maybe I'm just not cut out for entrepreneurship, rather than just seeing it as, oh, that's so interesting, that didn't work out. Okay, what do I either need to unblock here? Or what is a small skill I need to actually master? And the more you can lean in, the door will open faster if you actually are willing to like be curious about what stopped you.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how did you get to develop this program? And how did you go from corporate, because I know you were in corporate before, right? To doing this full time. How was your transition?
Yeah, so it did not start off full time. I at some point had backup jobs, right? Working like a part-time job here and there. That was the necessity. And it was also because I didn't learn what I knew now. So in other words, the framework that I developed this year actually allowed me to quantum leap from about 1 to 5K months in early 2025 to over 17K months by the time April came. So in 4 months, while I was still working full-time for a marketing agency, I was able to save up about 4 months of income to make the leap profitably, right? To have a little bit of a cushion. And it's been like a huge domino effect that starts to happen faster and faster. At this page, I'm even working with entrepreneurs who are like increasing their income from like $60,000 a month recurring, $100,000 a month recurring, and they're just working to rewire their subconscious to be on board. Now, that might feel a lot for some people, and it really doesn't matter what your income goals are, but working with executives is more of like people with big missions, right, who can hold a big part of the purpose. We don't really tie in the corporate, but we do use some of that marketing feedback to be able to package your offers or juniors in a way that people can actually resonate with, because the reality is no one's buying Reiki sessions, no one's buying inner child healing, no one's buying access bars in consciousness, they're buying a transformation. They want to be a different person. They want to have some sort of outcome. And a lot of times they get stuck, trying to sell or market themselves as the modality versus like what the person can look for. This was downloaded. I actually had a night that I spent at the hospital with my daughter. She's fine and healthy. Everything was okay, but it was an overnight stay. It wasn't an easy night. I had this moment where we were in the waiting room, right? And it was hours. There's kids crying. And I started just channeling some stuff and talking to God about, okay, if I had to actually just leave one mark on the world, right? If I had a billboard sign that I could share with humanity, like what is the process I could take people through that would create the biggest ripple effect in terms of like wealth going to the right people, right? Impact, purpose, fulfillment, happiness, and also just like an overall sense of well-being. And that's where this destiny alignment blueprint started dropping in. And the 3 phases became really intentional, because what I did is I accounted for all the ways people might sabotage, resist, fall off the bandwagon. And what I used as processes to actually intentionally account for that in the program so that they're held every step of the way, and it makes your success inevitable.
Wow. And you mentioned that you did a bit of channeling. What is your connection to spirit? And very briefly, like, did that start when you were younger or in your teenage years or adult life? And how strong is it now? What kind of connection do you make to spirit, especially when you work with your clients?
Absolutely. So I'm a channel by nature. That's definitely, aside from being a speaker, that's my second biggest gift. I can remember channeling as far as, back to childhood. I didn't know what it was at the time. I didn't have words for it. It certainly wasn't that, but there was moments where I would like download these board games and just sit in a room, like with the door closed for hours, just bringing something to life that like there was something flowing through me. Like it was definitely an inspired co-creation. But my spiritual awakening didn't actually happen until 2018 when I left it was a rather traumatic ending to a marriage, and our whole life went upside down. And that's where I started getting these glimpses and these downloads of who to talk to, where to go for help, where to like look for housing, and all these things that became clear. And with a lot of years of mentorship, I actually learned the right techniques to tap in consistently and to have that guidance. So I do channel for people in terms of like year ahead readings. I also help people on different moments where they're at a crossroads, right? They have some big choice to make and they want to know what the right choice is, not according to like shoulds, right? Or someone telling them to do, but which one actually leads them to a future they're happiest with. So whether it's career, divorce, job loss, right? Moving homes, reinventing yourself, starting over, or even pursuing like which offer to launch in your business. I'm very good at reading the potential timelines and working with spirit to tell them, if you choose this, here's what might come up, right? Here's what this can lead to, and to help them reverse engineer the best path for them.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And it sounds like your focus is on money, which I think is great, to be honest with you. But I know that you also help people in general, just having happier lives. And how do we marry this having more money and benefiting from all of that brings? Because I'm a huge believer that it's really great to have lots of money to enjoy this life and to enjoy what we came here for as well, to travel and to have experiences, right? But how do we marry that to living a happy life? Because we also know that it isn't just money that makes us happy. And maybe we have all of this money that we think we want or we think we need to be happy, and then we get there and we're not. So how do you help people? Yeah, how do you help people to just be happier in general?
Absolutely. So money's more of a side effect as a result of doing this work. The core things that I work with and really specialize with people is giving them permission to choose the dream that keeps them up at night, right? A lot of the times we label it unrealistic, irresponsible, that's too much, like who am I to, right? So there's a lot of patterns of either people pleasing or looking for external validation or waiting for others to give them permission to do the thing that their heart is just aching to do. As well as some of those codependency patterns, right, of trying to keep everyone happy around themselves and putting themselves last, rather than saying like, okay, look, by choosing to step into abundance and in impact and to fulfill my life's desires, I'm giving from the fullest cup because now I'm sustainable, now I'm happy and fulfilled. And everyone I give to as a result, I can give them, 10 times better quality, me, rather than always being kind of drained and on empty. So that's a lot to do with like the boundaries, the people pleasing, or the ways that people divorce themselves and choose to keep others happy instead of themselves, as well as the confidence factor, right? So a lot of the times when we're doing something new, especially if it goes against our family's rules or modern society's rules, there can be fears about getting it wrong, failing, getting rejected, fear of judgment. And when we clean those up, we start to see these amazing breakthroughs and miracles in people because they no longer resist or sabotage or stall and procrastinate, but they actually start to have this unstoppable momentum in whatever they're doing because they're no longer worried about what everyone else thinks. And they start to actually see themselves in this new identity or self-concept of the successful version that's already high in demand, that's already lit up. And, it moves you differently.
And does it take people a long time or a short amount of time? What's like the average for somebody to, I don't know, just to achieve their dream? Because what's a dream, right? And how big, how far is it? But can it be a pretty quick thing? Or is it just, linked to how quickly you can change your beliefs?
So what I will say is that the one-on-one sessions, especially that I do, are highly effective. We can clear number one core wound, recurring block, glass ceiling, the thing that you can't seem to get past, usually in 1 to 3 sessions. 1 for about 80% of people, 3 if it's like very, very deeply ingrained or they need some time to integrate and process between. So it really depends on how far and how, real people are willing to play. How much they're willing to lean in. Speed is my gift. That's I'm an accelerator by nature. So I can get you there in like 3 months to different income goals or less. I was working with an executive this past year, and she, in the 8 months that we were working together, has doubled her income. But it also depends on how far you're willing to like lean in, right? Be a different version of yourself, show up authentically, and also go all the way in on releasing all the ways you're holding yourself back. So I can only do so much on the back end, but it also depends on the person, how engaged they are with the sessions, as well as how devoted they are to changing their reality or taking different actions as a result. And it's not usually through working harder or more work. It's actually through setting new standards for their life and no longer being available for certain things that have bogged them down in the past.
It makes perfect sense to me. So what should people know about you or your sessions before deciding to work with you?
That's a great question. So what should they know? So the channeled sessions are really a direct line with source and soul and your Akashic records to know anything pertaining to your past, present, or future lives. And when I say future lives, we could go as far as lifetimes from now, but typically what I mean is crossroads or potential choices to make now pertaining to the future. We can recall your soul's gifts. We can understand why your soul chose certain things it did. We can understand what your past life genius was and pull it forward. And then what we can also do is make really empowered and psychically accurate decisions to springboard you forward or to quantum leap you in a way that's really effortless, whether it's an income goal, whether it's a happiness goal, whether it is a career change, or even like a relationship pattern you want to let go of. This would basically reconnect with your inner guidance. And I'm a big believer on bestowing people the tools to their own wisdom. So I'm never going to keep you dependent on me. I will actually teach you these things in real time so that you can start tapping in and getting access consistently. The advanced rewiring and deep healing sessions are, again, root cause focused healing. So a lot of the times people and practitioners make the mistakes. They say, oh, I cut the cords and this thing came back, right? Or I thought I healed this, but then all of a sudden it kept happening. And what I like to say is it's like going into the garden. If you have these weeds and you just trim it, it will grow back, right? So what we do is we actually dissolve what we call the point of origin, or the very first time this pattern, this cycle, this block started from you. Whether it was in this life or in a past lifetime, we go back to the very first moment in time. There was like a snowball effect created. And then we rewire the subconscious, right? The emotions, the soul contracts to hold that in place, dissolve cords so that it's not just snipping them, but you actually dissolve them so they don't exist anymore. And reverse engineer the solutions to actually channel the energy of the version of you that has the goal so that you can step into that person now. So it's a very fast way of almost like a quantum makeover of letting go of one core theme per session and then downloading the solution for your future self. If you were that now, how would you move and who would you be and what awareness would you have as a result?
Lovely. Makes sense. I love it. Changing subject slightly anyway.
Cool.
Do
Yes.
you feel positive about the future of humanity?
Exceedingly so, yes. I think that we choose to create, right? Whatever we focus on amplifies more. And there are ways that we can also work with economic or global uncertainty, right? We see things on the news, on social media. There's a lot of rage baiting. And I'm not saying that these like controversial issues aren't important or to just put on blinders and pretend to like think positive. But you can sort of ask the universe for things, right? So in other words, when there was this impeding like recession, what I asked the universe and wrote this like sort of two-way contract is, hey, look, there's an upcoming recession that's possible. I'm going to claim like a great share of the wealth so that I can be a pillar of safety, resources, abundance, and to show the possibility for those around me. And so that I can bring that baseline to those that I can touch, right? Through the people I hire, my community that I serve, the people I help, my family. And I'm almost claiming a part of the people that get to rise, right? As a result of maybe things that we can't control. So no matter what happens, you have a choice to sink or swim. And you can also ask like, hey, if humanity needs help during this time, how can I be a person who's able to rise right into a bigger purpose? That is the one thing. The other thing is with AI and the changing of job systems, right? We're really replaying an ancient theme that was predicted in the Celestine prophecy. It's a really great book. I know it was like a metaphor, like it wasn't a actual story. It's a fiction. But what they were talking about is how humanity is going to basically be refocused on their original gifts, their original genius, their own zone of creativity. And while AI and those things may replace a lot of jobs, we're stepping into this wisdom economy where you can make a good living just by sharing your insights, your information, your ideas. So you no longer have to be like a business owner in terms of having a product or service. You can also like help people just by sharing your points of view or by opening up doors. And that's what the spiritual community does the best, right? They're luminaries. So just by helping people, you can for sure make a great living. And now is the time more than ever to resource yourself with different forms of income so that you can also hold that pillar of security while other people might look to you for some leadership or guidance.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay. Is there something that you would like to share with people listening about how to live a happy life? I guess just a tip or something you'd like to leave them with that they can, take with and think about for the next little while.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's just actually tap into the energy of the community. So, there's different processes for this. But really what I'm saying is a life fulfilled has a good balance in all of your cups, right? So in other words, it's not just about the money. And trust me, I've seen people that come to me who are extremely wealthy and influential who are like, I'm miserable. I'm stuck to this thing that I thought I wanted. Now that I have it, I don't know how to get out. So it's not just about the money, right? It's about being resourced. And by being resourced, it means having a pretty good balance in all areas of your life, from spirituality to wellness, to relationships, to finances, to your home, right? Adventure, learning. So I love to actually look at it as almost like 12 different dimensions. This is something that I learned from a life book on Mind Valley. There's 12 dimensions of life. You can Google what they are, but you can reflect on your current like score or rating in all areas, and then take a look at the ones that need the most love. Those are the ones that I would start pouring into or making one change that would create the most for you. And that doesn't mean you have to do a lot, but you could actually ask, right, your body or your higher self, okay, what is one thing I could add or subtract here to like bring up my fulfillment level to 10 out of 10? And a lot of the times it's actually by letting go of something that you've outgrown, right? Closing up an old friendship that's kind of toxic or no longer serving, or slightly pouring something in by adding something to your day that would actually make life more meaningful. Because if we're always waiting for this future to happen when things finally get good, we fail to live in the present. And the best thing we can do for ourselves is like choose the fancy dishes now, right? Do the little, like romanticize your mornings or find little ways to make sprinkles in your day that actually raise your vibration, which then will also attract way better, things on the outside in terms of like opportunities for you.
Great advice. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. I've learned a lot. Thanks so much. I'm going to take a lot of the tips that you said into account and practice them. Maybe one last parting message that you'd like to leave us with.
Yeah, so I would say that actually it's a small activation that wants to come through if you're okay. It shouldn't take very long, but for anyone listening on the call, you can opt into this. So you can tap into source, right? And seeing that abundance is replenishing and infinite, you could say, What are the infinite ways? And the reason I like to use open-ended statements is because it's like a problem solving. It triggers the neocortex part of your brain that brings you the solutions and the miracles. So always open-ended. What are the infinite ways for every dollar or every form of abundance that I've ever resisted, rejected, or blocked to come back to me in real time now? So from all lifetimes, if I've ever resisted, rejected, or blocked any forms of abundance, to come back to me now. And actually just allow yourself to bring that back in. Because there's been times you may have like turned down an opportunity because you were too scared. There's been times maybe you got a download to take some sort of action and you didn't do it, right? But all we have is the eternal now. So it really doesn't matter what happened in the past. You can actually call it back in real time and just ask your body then to be open to it as well.
Beautiful. Melissa, thank you so much. Thank you for being on Orykl. And I'll be calling you soon for a session. Why not?
I love that. Thank you for having me. It's amazing to see what you guys are doing for the community and how you guys are helping people to really, just get that visibility. So I'm totally in awe of that. Thanks for having me. And for anyone tuning in, thank you for being here.